As the number of exiles across Ea swelled, and more spires began dotting the landscape, the dragons finally began to take notice of these strange extraterrestrial visitors. At first, they looked upon the exiles with suspicion, closely observing them to ensure they were not corrupted by demonic taint. The dragons ready to mercilessly burn their spires and eliminate every exile if such a taint was discovered. Luckily for the exiles, the dragons saw nothing that indicated such corruption, and their suspicion instead turned to curiosity, which was understandable. To see another people who, like the dragons, were born of balance but not upon Ea was truly a mystery that I'm sure the boar dragons were wishing to explore. It was eventually decided that the dragons would contact these beings to form some sort of dialogue and learn of their people, but the dragons feared that sending the elders, the most powerful of their kind, to greet them would send the wrong message. They didn't want the exiles to do something rash due to the fear of the dragon's overwhelming power. So it was decided that the much younger and weaker dragons would act as emissaries, easing the exiles' worries and hopefully beginning a fruitful relationship. This decision proved a mistake, as those who would act rashly were not the exiles, but the young dragons themselves. Now before I continue, I should explain a bit about dragon society at the time. As I previously mentioned, when dragons chose to procreate, they would insert a portion of their essence into the dragon egg, giving the new dragon a portion of their power, not only weakening the parents, but also creating a dragon much weaker than their sires. Over generations, this created a clear hierarchy amongst the dragons, the elders being far more powerful than their younger kin, a power difference that created an envy that pushed the younger dragons to try to overcome this disparity. Over the millennia, the younger dragons attempted to use practice and technique to overcome their weakness, using their long lives to make their magic more efficient and powerful. But no matter their efforts, they could never truly magically do, at least without significant effort and time, what their elders could do with but a wave of their hands. But a possible way to overcome this imbalance came with the exiles, or to be more accurate, their tools. Now the dragons, despite living on Ea since life first formed, had never really used tools. They had no need. They were the apex predators of the world, and anything they need that could not be taken from the primitive civilization of Ea with tooth, claw, and flame could be created with magic. Because of this, the creation of tools to improve their craft had never really come to mind, but with the advanced tools of the exiles before them, they saw possibilities, and that awoke a greed in them that overcame any sense of propriety. So when the young dragons went to meet the exiles, they did not come with words of friendship, but with demands. Demands for the items and knowledge that the exiles possessed. The exiles naturally turned these young dragons away, having no real fear of these creatures. Their demands not met, the younger dragons soon turned to attacks, seeking to disrupt the various caravans and supply lines of the exiles outside of the spires, and pillaging the various tools of the exiles. Tools that were shown to the other young dragons, and encouraging more of the younger generation to aid their fellows. In response to these attacks, the Sovereign ordered legions of soldiers, whose numbers had swelled over the centuries, to attack the Dragon Rooks, the home of the dragons. The Sovereign arrogantly believed that not only would this be an easy conquest, but such a quick victory would swell the hearts of his people, and perhaps sweep over any lingering resentment left over from fleeing their homeland, and leaving everyone they knew and loved to die. However, such resentment was not so easily forgotten, as those of the lower classes had long waited for opportunity to escape the Sovereign's grip, an opportunity that came with the march upon the Rooks. Far from the spires, the grand army of the exiles disappeared, the only evidence of their fate being faded footprints heading towards the Eastern Sea, and the broken bodies of the Sovereign's enforcers and sycophants. It seemed that the lower classes who had for so many years been subjugated and belittled by the Sovereign had chosen this moment to free themselves and move on to lands beyond. The Sovereign now had no army, and innumerable civilians and nobles who looked upon him with hungry eyes, his moment of weakness clear for all to see. In desperation, the Sovereign urged those with the knowledge that were loyal to him to fashion him a new army, one under his complete control. As I mentioned before, exiles have a natural ability called life binding, allowing them to slowly modify their bodies by attaching aspects of other creatures to themselves. But there is another form of life binding that is less art and more cold science, a method known as biomancy, which allowed its users to not only create new life, bind this life completely under their will, and with this science, an army of subservient soldiers slave to the sovereign's will was born. The Voice, the leader of the religious caste, saw this desecration of their sacred practice and in desperation, revealed to the people of the spires that she had been negotiating with the dragon since the beginning of the attacks, hoping to strike some sort of deal to escape the iron grip of the sovereign. A deal that was struck, as the dragons offered the Voice and whoever followed her a large patch of unspoiled land in return for the wealth of their knowledge and their possessions. The promise of new lands away from the grip of the sovereign spurned a rebellion across the spires, a rebellion the sovereign aimed to quickly quell. The sovereign soon ordered his clone soldiers to end the rebellion, and they began doing so in the most brutal way possible, showing not a hint of mercy, as they slaughtered thousands of civilians in pursuit of this goal. In desperation, the Voice surrendered herself to the sovereign, which the sovereign accepted with glee, most likely planning to make an example of this rebellious leader. But this surrender was a ploy, for as soon as the Voice presented herself before him, she and the sovereign were transported before the three eldest dragons, and with just a brief display of their powers, the sovereign knew that his estimation of the dragon's abilities were far from correct. One of these elders alone could easily wipe every exile from the face of the world. The sovereign immediately surrendered, and the Voice and her followers, as promised, was given a patch of unspoiled land to call their own. Their possessions given to the dragons, these exiles chose to live a simpler life amongst nature. As for the sovereign, much was also given by him, but perhaps the most impactful of his concessions was the knowledge of biomancy, a knowledge pushed forward by the younger generations of dragons, the young greedily seeing the possibilities of its use. Unfortunately, it was this greed that would eventually lead to the doom of all dragonkind.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this third video in the background lore of Conquest. If you like it and you're inclined, please like, subscribe, comment, press the little bell so you know where I post so that YouTube gods know I exist and hopefully more people see my content. And if you're really inclined, please consider giving a little money to my Patreon or my Ko-fi account. The extra money gives it a chance to work on these stories I love. Anyway, thanks for listening/watching and see you next time.